I'm Brent Phillips, and welcome to day one of our VIP Club special event, Ignite Your Intuition. We're going to kick off our series by discussing exactly what intuition is. I would say it's your sixth sense, or more precisely, it's actually a whole bunch of non-physical senses. All of us humans, and a lot of non-humans too, have all of the intuitive senses, but it doesn't seem that way because they're undeveloped and or untrained. In fact, most of us have our intuitive senses so poorly developed that we don't consider ourselves to be intuitive or psychic at all. We think it's a rare gift. Semantic note. To my understanding, intuitive psychic mean pretty much the same thing, but we like to avoid using loaded words where it's not strictly necessary. So I'll generally prefer the term intuitive. So this is how it works. Your intuitive senses work in parallel with your physical senses, and they are sort of dimensionally layered on top of them. As an example, when you hear something with your physical ears, the energetic or intuitive message of the words is also whispered to you intuitively at the same time. Similarly, people who have intuitive vision permanently enabled, it's sort of layered on top of their physical vision, like a heads-up display. Those are the people that can see auras or ancestor spirits around others with their open eyes. And yeah, there are definitely folks out there who have incredible natural intuitive gifts that see energy, that see auras, that see people's ancestors all the time. I know this because some of them have been my teachers, my students, my clients, and my colleagues. And so if you are a naturally gifted intuitive, I think this material will be of great value to you because it will help you learn how to control your abilities. It'll teach you to learn how to turn up and down your intuition or even on and off. After all, do you really want to see a bunch of spirits of dead ancestors around every person in the line in front of you at the grocery store? And have half of them constantly pestering you to deliver messages for them? I wouldn't. But I've known people that are like that way. And so it's not surprising that many people born with a strong intuitive gift find ways to turn it off. Sometimes by eating toxic food, sometimes with dangerous drugs. But most of us are in the opposite camp. If you're like me, your intuitive skills are raw and probably barely developed, if at all. Be encouraged. Know that everyone can develop intuitive skills. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes some healings, and it takes some training and practice. And also, don't be too jealous of those super intuitive folks. I found it's sometimes a lot easier to learn to turn on and turn up missing intuitive ability than it is to learn to turn it down or turn it off when there's too much of it. The model we're going to present here, there's one intuitive sense for every physical sense, plus the intuitive sense of clairsentience, which translates roughly as psychic or intuitive knowing. Clairsentience is knowledge that bypasses the translation and distortion of the physical sensory input in the rational mind. Esoterically, intuition is your higher dimensional tool of perception. All spiritual and healing and metaphysical practices have at their core some kind of focus on the nurturing and development of intuitive abilities, and that's not a coincidence. Throughout most of human history, the majority of those who have displayed powerful intuitive abilities simply had a natural gift. Unfortunately, most of those rare and talented individuals never really understood exactly what it was they were doing, and as a result, most of them were not able to train others to do it nearly as well as they could do it. But know this, developing intuition was a really hard road for me. It took me years of practice and trainings and classes to develop even the most rudimentary intuitive skill. When I first learned intuitive readings, I was a total disaster. I could not do it at all, not even a little bit. I'd literally go to seminars, and my partners would be telling me about what my guardian angels look like, and giving me all these messages, and telling me what my body was saying, and all this stuff. But I try to do a reading, and I'm like, all I see is blackness, and I hear nothing, silence. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how much money I spent. Fortunately for you, what I lacked in talent, I made up for in motivation and determination. So I practiced every day. I did an hour or two of private sessions with professionals every week. Cost a small fortune, but that's what I had to do to learn this. I attended as many intuitive training and energy healing practice groups and weekend seminars as I possibly could. And you know what happened? After 9 months of daily practice, after I'd been to some 50 practice sessions, private sessions, dozens and dozens of practice groups, and several weekend training seminars, I finally got my first intuitive hit. And even then was only because the seminar leader was standing there with her hand on my shoulder giving me a boost. Let me offer you this story as encouragement. The first seminar I took to learn intuitive readings, there were about 90 students there. I can guarantee you I was dead last by a large margin in terms of my ability and talent. But I didn't give up. I practiced. It took months to even get the first hint of intuitive ability. And it took me many years and an enormous amount of time and money spent to get results. But I'm confident that if you got together with those same 90 people today, I'd be right near the top of the class because I didn't give up. So the good news for you is, as the saying goes, see students make the best teachers. In terms of teaching intuition, because it was so hard for me, because it took so long, I learned an enormous amount of exercises and insights and shortcuts and tips and tricks that will make it very easy for you. So please save your excuses. I don't want to hear, oh, I can't do this. Oh, I'm not a talent. Oh, I'm not a psychic. That's nonsense. Just because you weren't the world's premier intuitive after a few hours of training doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you got more to do. And so I will present myself as arguably one of the world's least talented intuitives. And with work and practice, I guarantee that everyone can learn intuitive skills. And I guarantee you'll learn it much more quickly, much more easily, much more cheaply than I did. And don't forget, while for many people the intuitive senses start to turn on right away, for others it takes longer. But ultimately, what really matters is your ongoing practice and dedication to develop intuitive skills. Doesn't matter where you start from. What matters is where you end at. Like the game of chess, you can learn the basics of intuitive skills and start practicing in a couple hours. But it may take your entire life to master it. So be patient with yourself. And trust me, it's absolutely worth doing. It's one of the best investments you can make in yourself in the future for your family and your loved ones. Note number 1, I will be offering you some exercises to develop your intuition during the series. If you don't already know a process of doing intuitive readings, you're going to need to find one. Find a teacher, find a book, find a training class. I'm not going to require you to learn my method. I'm going to try to give you general purpose exercises and guidance that will work generically with any technique, any process, any system. Of course, I'm biased towards awakening dynamics. I encourage you to take my class. I'll teach you how to do all this stuff. Easy. But it's not required. You can use any system you like. Number 2, on the tail of that, I would recommend against trying to learn intuitive skills entirely from a book or a website. Learning intuition from a book is trying to learn karate from a book. After a while, you'll be doing something that looks kind of like karate, but it's not karate. And if you try to use it, you'll get your butt kicked. You'll be ingraining bad habits that a teacher will later have to spend a lot of effort to correct. So especially if you're new to intuitive work, I encourage you find a teacher. A teacher can tune your energy, correct your mistakes, make sure you're doing it the right way before you develop bad habits. It's fine to start with a book. That'll get you up and running. But do yourself a favor. Take a training class, find a teacher, do some one-on-ones, get part of a group. I'm not sure it's possible to learn intuition just from a program or a book or a website. You need some feedback. You need a teacher. Personally, I think that you should attend my Awakening Dynamics Level 1 training class. If you do that, I will make sure you learn intuitive readings the right way the first time. I've spent a couple decades of my life developing this class and making it as easy as possible to show you how to do intuitive readings. So almost everyone can do it. You don't even have to travel. I even offer an online streaming option. But the purpose of this series doesn't matter what intuitive process or system you've learned. It is generic to any system, any process. As long as it works for you and it gets good results, that's all we need. So this is all I have to say for day 1. I'm Brent Phillips, and I'll be back with a lot more of Ignite Your Intuition soon. Until then, take care.